to the IREN Kenya webinar. We are gathered here today to deliberate upon some of the solutions that SMEs can adopt into their businesses in order to mitigate against the adverse impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. 80% of Kenya's economy is the informal sector, employing over 12 million Kenyans. The informal sector is a primary driver of Kenya's economy. Liquidity within the informal sector is drying up daily. Jobs are being lost, and entrepreneurs have dramatically curtailed, if not closed, their businesses, at least temporarily. COVID-19 is evolving with adverse and devastating impact on the informal sector. How can we frame information on COVID-19 pandemic to address both the formal and the informal sectors of the economy?
The informal sector, currently, the only word they know is cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So all messaging around COVID, the impact from policymakers, government, private sector should be framed in a way that includes that word cash flow, because then it relates to the informal mwananchi who understands all they don't have right now is cash. And then, so how are you speaking to that cash flow issue?
The second one is the use of local languages. That's important, especially for the informal sector that do not have access or do not understand English or Kiswahili. And then the third is breaking down information in bits that the users can be able to understand.
What resilience tools can SMEs during the COVID-19 shutdowns consider for their businesses?
A lot of micro, small businesses are registered or formed or clustered around chamas and associations. So SMEs must seek to strengthen these platforms in the form of chamas and associations to build their capacity to be able to serve them more and build their respective resilience.
We could think about teleconferencing tools such as Skype or Zoom, where the owners of the SMEs are able to have meetings with their members. Then second, it could be project management tools like Trello, where users put or key in information about what they're doing so that it is accessible to the whole team. Then three, it could be accounting tools like QuickBooks and Sage. It could also be time tracking tools such as Toggle, where owners of businesses feel like they're losing control of the amount of time that the users or their employees are spending on businesses, is to make sure that you've used such applications.
The banks must come up with innovative ways in terms of supporting what we call facilities that can support SMEs along this difficult period. We'll also talk about possible deferrals of sub-levies and payments, both at national level, government levels. And then we'll also want to spread period for the employers to see how they can safeguard jobs by giving them special facilities like even special loans that can hold on employees to make sure that they don't lose the talent, they don't lose the skills, and giving continuous information in terms of training and mentorship online to make sure that the businesses have got knowledge in terms of financial resilient risk operation measures, and even making sure that they survive in terms of market and supply chain.
I think during this time, especially the formal SMEs, it's all about planning. So you need to do a business continuity plan, not something complex, but very simplified. Something simplified in which you can first look at what are the pressures I'm facing, because we have cost pressures, we have revenue pressures, we have the supply chain pressures. You list all the pressures you're facing, whether it's decline in orders, increase in prices, and etc. You list them, and then you put all the possible options that you have, and then decide on the options.
Where can SMEs find vital information during this period?
There's so much information, especially online on social media. LinkedIn is extremely appropriate. There's so much information, events, webinars. At SME Support Center, we are running a couple of these plans. Feel free to join.
I've seen one initiative, an open online initiative called the Kenya Ecosystem Startup and SME Resource. You can be able to access information around which institutions are giving grants, which institutions are giving finance during this that is tailored to for COVID-19.
Through the press conferences that are being held by the government on a daily basis. And this can be accessed either via radio or TV or even the internet. What is important at this point, especially when we are having a lot of fake information moving around, is to make sure that SMEs are using sources that are reliable.
When we look ahead, we ask ourselves, what are some of the best practices that could impact the SMEs positively post-COVID-19?
This is a time where no one can literally say there's really best practice anywhere. So if I was to pick one in terms of the impact of COVID, it is really around cash management. If you have salaries, if you have rent and so forth, it is just really asking yourself, should I get short-term loans to cover this? Should I focus on chasing collections from customers so that I can meet my current overheads? Should I renegotiate with my suppliers and so forth?
Speaking with existing partners or probably SMEs had taken loans, so they need to start talking to their financiers and saying, look, can we then restructure the existing how the payment is being done for the existing loans?
Most small businesses tend to cluster in physical locations. In isolation, a business might not have the sufficient resources to maybe, for example, shift their business model or invest in new capabilities. So this approach will give you as a business an advantage. One being buying power, where you can be able to enjoy economies of scale by purchasing input in bulk together.
What are some of the 3 possible scenarios that we are looking at post-COVID-19?
Number one is shift in customer trends, especially given the practices that have taken place during COVID-19 on issues around quarantine, social distance, purchasing online. I foresee some of these trends persisting past the current pandemic.
There'll be a very high demand of goods and services, and also growth will be on a trajectory immediately. So things will return to normal, so to speak, immediately. And also we expect some sectors to really pick up very quickly, especially e-commerce, because we've seen a shift of many businesses now that were still very traditional on brick and mortar, now doing things on e-commerce platforms.
You expect to see a lot of business consolidation, mergers and acquisition post the crisis, given that a lot of businesses have been struggling, and merging or consolidation with other similar businesses will be a viable option to just be able to survive post-COVID.
What is important is how SMEs should prepare for that, because there'll be a lot of competition with every SME trying to survive. Then what they should do is SMEs should prepare to defend their market position. So come up with a lot of competitive strategies on how to survive, a lot of offers, because every business would want to survive. And then the third would be severe, where this corona probably would we'll have to wait until probably November, December. So a lot will have changed. And for SMEs to survive, they need to come up with a lot of innovation.
What role should African governments play to stimulate activities post-COVID-19?
We need a common front approach from governments in terms of access to markets. We need to reduce and eliminate the barriers that we've seen in terms of business before. We should promote a lot of regional integration that you see moving towards the Africa Free Trade Continental area.
The focus should be on how do we increase the credit flow. SMEs will be very impacted to some extent with their credit ratings for those who have defaulted, which is expected. So it will be really reorganizing that. Another key area would be on productivity. I think post-COVID, the main thing will be about growth, increasing production and employment, really, because we'll need to move from negative to positive, or even better than where we were before. So it will really be about production and increasing the productivity, producing more, using less input.
The other one is, which I think has been implemented in Kenya, is increasing or raising the pay-as-you-earn bracket to ensure or to give the general population disposable income for it to spur demand.
One is providing economic stimulus, like reducing the taxes. So then there's more money for people in the economy to use. Then second is providing a favorable business environment. This is making sure that setting up businesses or even operating or paying taxes or anything that is government related is more seamless and it's easy. So it becomes, the barriers into business would be low. And then the last one would be government can come up with some grants and funding that SMEs can be able to access at low interest rates.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we are committed to working together with you as we continue to explore mutually beneficial strategies and tactics that we can deploy in order to mitigate on the full impact of COVID-19.